This is a clip from Basketball at the Bar Live. Clippers and the Pelicans today. So, Calvin, let's start off here with the LA Lakers. They missed the playoffs last season. Starting lineup, they got Russell Westbrook at the 1, Austin Reeves at the 2 with Malik Monk coming off the bench, THT Taylor Horton-Tucker playing the 3, Stanley Johnson at the 4, and Anthony Davis at the 5. Obviously, LeBron James is off this list due to the injury. I think he would be starting at the small forward position for them, potentially power forward. As far as the salary cap goes, Russell Westbrook's got a player option for next season that he will opt in at $47 million. LeBron's got 1 more year left on his deal. Anthony Davis has 3 years left. THT's got 2 years left. Kendrick Nunn has a player option. And pretty much everybody else on this roster is expiring, including Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, Avery Bradley, Malik Monk, and a bunch of other guys. So, Calvin, I want to ask you, what do the Lakers need to do to improve this offseason to get back into the NBA playoffs and compete for a championship?
Well, of course, the easiest and number one answer to this question is stay healthy, right? Like, you've got all this money committed to potentially, if Westbrook is on this team still next year, that him, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. And those guys are, 2 of them are definitely getting older. One of them is, sort of entering the later stages of his prime. So you need those guys to be on the court healthy in order for this team to succeed. Now, if you're going to take like the 2K route, I guess, to rebuild this team, then you're going to try to pull off one of these mega deals, right? Like Westbrook for Kyrie or Anthony Davis sign and trade for Zach LaVine. It's easy to get onto the trade machine and go crazy with that stuff. That is incredibly hard to predict. So I'm not necessarily going to suggest any of those things because I don't know how realistic any of them really are. I think in a perfect world, the Lakers would love to move Russell Westbrook. We've heard that, basically since their regular season ended. It just doesn't seem like it might be that possible anymore. John Wall was talked about for a while. Kyrie Irving is talked about. Probably will be talked about more again, but we just don't know what that. So for now, I'm just going to say let's assume Russell Westbrook stays on this team next year as well as Anthony Davis. It's going to be a really rough offseason, I think, for the Lakers. First of all, they lost their first-round pick. It went to New Orleans at number 8.
Wow.
That would have been a great spot to pick for them. So now you have to look basically at free agency. And because you've already got so much money committed, you can't just go out there and be like, hey, Bradley Beal, do you want to come play for us? Or, hey, all these top guys. So you basically are living, in the middle to bottom feeder section of free agency. What this team really needs is shooting. They need to fill out their front court, and they need to be better defensively. So I'm looking at, if I'm the Lakers, I'm kind of hoping Kendrick Nunn opts in to this deal. At least for 1 year. He's an expiring contract. He would be another serviceable guard, a younger player that they could use. But I'm looking at guys like, and again, I know I just talked about getting younger, but PJ Tucker is an intriguing guy for me. Just opted out. I don't know how much money he's going to want necessarily, but fits the mold for what the Lakers need. A tenacious defender, a guy that can space the floor, shoots it from outside really, really well. Another person, I think you're going to hear a lot of the same names that you've heard for years with the Lakers. Dwight Howard. Andre Drummond is a free agent. Mitchell Robinson is also a free agent. And that would be somebody that I would definitely take a look at if I'm the Lakers.
He's restricted, right?
I don't think so. Let me check here. But
he was a second-round pick or late first?
He was. I don't know the answer to that one either.
Because that'll tell you the difference on whether he is restricted or not. I believe he is restricted.
I thought and now of course I can't find him, but I thought I saw him being an unrestricted free agent. Anyway, it says, here he is right here. It says he's unrestricted, but guys like Naz Reid, for example, in Minnesota, the Timberwolves have a team option on him if he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Again, these guys aren't necessarily, franchise-changing players, but they're good role players that if put around superstars like LeBron and Anthony Davis, it might actually work. Malik Monk of course, is another one that I'm desperately trying to re-sign if I'm the Lakers. I just don't know if I'm going to have enough money to do so, because he was really, really productive, and he was probably their best overall outside shooter last season. But, you know, again, guys like Cody Martin or Caleb Martin, versatile wings that can shoot it from outside and defend. That's what this team needs to go out and get. So I would definitely be starting with that. I'm also keeping track on what Oklahoma City does with Lou Dort, because I would love to land him if I'm the Lakers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be huge. That would be huge. This Lakers team, you're right, has a really tough offseason, but they do have some flexibility in terms of, like, all these guys are all expiring, right? Like, they have basically 5 guys that are under contract for next season. 2 of those are player options. The other 3 is LeBron, Anthony Davis, and THT. If I'm the Lakers, I'm seriously looking at myself in the mirror and I'm saying, okay, are we competing for a championship next season? Because if we are, and that's the goal, I need to go the same route that LeBron has won all his championships, and that's surrounding him by 2 other stars and adding in a bunch of wing players that can 3 and D. So if that's the step I'm taking, I'm saying I got LeBron, I got Anthony Davis. I either need to move Westbrook, maybe with THT to clear some cap space and bring in a guy like Zach LaVine, and then just add in maybe 1 mid-level and a bunch of shooters and defensive-oriented guys. If that's not possible, I think you're pretty much stuck with Westbrook, and you have your Westbrook-James-Davis combo, maybe another year of playing together. Maybe you can convince Russell Westbrook to be a little less selfish, and you just add in old veterans, ring chasers. I expect a lot of these guys to return. Dwight Howard potentially, Carmelo Anthony, Avery Bradley. A lot of these guys I expect to return to this roster. Now, the third option for the Lakers this offseason, and this is if you feel like maybe you aren't a championship contender or you're not going to win the title next season, and that would be to trade some of these guys. And as much as I hate to say this, because I'm a big LeBron fan, I'm not a Lakers fan, but I'm a big LeBron fan, Anthony Davis is the last of this big 3 that I'm trading. He's only 29 years old. He had a down year last offseason. This guy was supposed to be the future of the Lakers. He's the one I'm holding on to, and I'm trying to trade LeBron, Westbrook, and start from scratch.
Yeah, that seems like blasphemy to even think of or say that you would trade LeBron James. I don't expect that to happen.
If they don't win, if they're not going to win a title, if they're not competing for a title next season, you got to do something.
What did Jeannie Buss say this offseason? That last year wasn't acceptable. When you spend that much money, you expect to compete for a championship.
Yep.
So that's the Laker way. They've got those 3 big mega stars on this team. That's the direction I expect them to try to go for next season.
Yeah, and the fact that LeBron and Westbrook are both under contract next season if Westbrook does opt in here, and that's the last year of their deal. And you still have 2 more years of Anthony Davis after that. So if you want to say, okay, we're going to run it back 1 more year and see what happens, and if this team doesn't succeed, we're going to move on with just Anthony Davis as our future star. But like you mentioned earlier, they don't have many draft picks. So the only way that this team would be able to compete in the next 5 seasons in my thoughts would be to sign big name free agents, which they've done numerous times in the past, and it's very, very possible. But they don't have the cap space to do it this offseason, so they might have to wait until next year. Yeah, they basically went all in on Anthony Davis. They got rid of all their draft picks, all their young players. So, they won a title. It was worth it, right? But what do you do at this point?
Yeah.
Any last thoughts on this Lakers rebuild before we move on here?
Any team that employs LeBron James is kind of at his mercy, so to speak.
Yeah.
Le GM, as we've now come to know him, he's, for good and the right reasons, I think, makes a lot of these calls and determines, what happens roster-wise with whatever team he's playing on. So like you said, they're all in on Anthony Davis. They've been all in on LeBron James since he became a Laker. And that's the reason they got Anthony Davis. That's the reason they got Russell Westbrook. And it's going to be more of the same this offseason.
Yep.
You know, LeBron wants to win. And the question is, how can they construct this roster to make that happen, keeping in mind the fact that they need to stay on the court and be healthy first and foremost?
Yep. And, you know, there is a slight chance that they could end up pulling a deal of a Russell Westbrook for a Kyrie Irving or a Russell Westbrook for a Zach LaVine. And the only reason I say that second one is possible is because if you're the Bulls, do you want to lose Zach LaVine for nothing?
Right.
Or do you at least want to get, maybe we can get a draft pick, maybe we can get THT and 1 year of Russell Westbrook, and then he's off the books.
We'll see. I mean, there's also reports coming out of Chicago that LaVine is leaning towards re-signing. So that's why, you know, when you talk about these mega deals or these big sign-in trades for all-star caliber or perennial all-star players, you're really living in a virtual reality kind of.
Yeah.
Until it becomes reality.
In 2K world.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a Lakers fan, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Calvin and I cover the LA Lakers and many other teams in the NBA, and we will continue to this entire offseason and into next season. We appreciate if you guys would subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, if you like or didn't like what Calvin and I mentioned as far as our rebuild, let us know down below in the comments. We would absolutely love to hear from you. So much for watching. As always, please don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. You can join us live every single weekday, Monday through Friday.